He built a secret home in a mall and lived there for 4 years before being discovered. He found the space suspicious, so he went to investigate further and surprisingly found a big hidden space. Without thinking of the outcome, he started living there and trespassed each time without letting anyone know. Shockingly, he spent 4 years there, but on one fine day, someone knocked on his door, leaving him choked. The brand new Providence Place Mall had just been constructed in Providence, Rhode Island, back in 1999. Overlooking the Northeast Corridor rail line operated by Amtrak and the Woonasquatucket River, the 1.4 million square foot building had 160 shops and services. With so much going for it, this outrageous $500 million building was obviously intended to be a one-stop shopping haven that would contribute to the city's revitalization. However, local Providence resident and artist Michael Townsend spotted something peculiar while it was being built. Every day, he would pass the mall's building site on his run route. As the site was developed, he saw an area that didn't make sense. There were 2 big walls next to the river that nearly connected, but did not quite fit together. There was a space in the center that led to a sizable area that was empty. It was an awkwardly formed place, too sharp to be a parking lot and too angular to be a store. The odd gap that appeared just due to the angle's design seems like some kind of design mishap. But in 2003, just over 4 years later, Providence became the target of yet another group of developers. After seeing how successful the fantastic mall was, they started looking throughout the city for locations to add other stores. They determined after a comprehensive investigation that the city's historic Mill District would be the ideal location for reconstruction and revitalization. Sadly, Michael resided at this place. He lived as a commune with other artists at Fort Thunder, one of the district's former warehouses. Heartbroken by the choice, Michael worked with other neighbors for 2 years to rescue his Mill District house. However, all of that was ultimately in naught, as a parking lot eventually took the place of the vibrant Fort Thunder. Michael started the tape art movement in the city and taught drawing at the School of Design in Rhode Island at the time. So he asked his buddies who were artists for assistance. Following a lengthy debate, he and 7 other artists made the decision to work together on a piece that would draw attention to the quantity of usable space that Providence's soulless retail growth is sacrificing. In an audacious attempt to bring Trumkin to life, they would spend a week living entirely within Providence Place Mall. They needed a place inside that was hidden from the mall security personnel's view in order to do this. Thus, it could not be a portion of the parking lot or a storefront. In a stroke of poetic justice, Michael at this moment instantly realized the strange emptiness he had seen years before. He proceeded to find out if it was still there. Though it was hard to see, a long, dark crack showed the area was still accessible from the ground level. And the developers had never bothered to shut it up. Broken wooden packages of zip ties were among the many items the construction crew had left behind 6 years prior, packed inside the hidden area. The room was unquestionably tiny, yet it was also spacious. Large enough to be at least 750 square feet, or around the size of an ordinary one-bedroom apartment in New York City. This implied that Michael and his company were seated on very desirable, yet entirely unoccupied, land in the center of the shopping center. The secret room was much more ideal than Michael had imagined, and when he realized how much potential it had, the original plans were abruptly altered. They started speculating about what a developer might do in their position. They so then made the decision to create their own private apartment out of the empty area. Instead of staying at the mall for a week, they'd try to stay there permanently, but the room wouldn't work in its current form. Michael and his colleagues set about tidying it up. They loaded up their backpacks and buckets with as much filth and muck as they could carry and dumped it outdoors where no one would see them. They constructed the chamber gradually, so that from the outside, it appeared to be just another ordinary storage area. Running water was the only thing they lacked, but even treks to the restroom at night didn't appear all that weird because of the late-night movie theater in the mall. They didn't want word of the room to get out, even if they were confident in their ability to hide. As a result, the 8 artists decided not to let anybody else use the room. It was all equally divided among the buddies, and this hidden arrangement was so ideal that individuals often spent up to 3 weeks inside the mall walls. Furthermore, all 8 performers were beginning to settle in once the secret arrangement achieved its 4th year of undetected brilliance. They found themselves thoroughly rumbled when they returned to the residence one day in 2007. Their priceless PlayStation, some of their artwork, and a photo book had all been taken when their utility door was kicked in. Strangely enough, nothing more valuable had been taken. Not the television, not the cutlery, only the truly personal items. It became unbelievably evident that this was no typical break-in. They couldn't exactly call the cops, though. Regretfully, this is the point at which Michael erred greatly. With great desire to show her the project that became a 4-year labor of love, he brought the visiting artist from Hong Kong, Jaffa, into the middle of the day and showed her the room without giving it any thought. She was clearly thrilled when Michael gave her the entire tour. However, as they were ready to go, the unsettling sound of many walkie-talkies crackling came from the other side of the door. Michael was terrified and tried to think, but there was no other option. 3 security guards raced forward as Michael unlocked the door, arresting him immediately. It came out that the initial break-in had been carried out by 2 recently hired mall police officers who had found the room. Rather than organizing things, they had seized personal belongings in an attempt to find the offenders. He turned himself into the police along with Jaffa, who was detained for trespassing. However, Jaffa was just detained and then released. But Michael was not as fortunate. After being taken to criminal court, General Growth Properties, the owner of the mall, recruited a lawyer who was prepared to take Michael to court. Michael was given a misdemeanor for trespassing instead of jail time or a large fine, and he was then allowed to go. It was nothing less than a miracle, this smack on the wrist. For 4 years, Michael had been living in the mall on and off, and despite being discovered, it had cost him nothing at all. Michael is still prohibited from going anywhere near the mall, even after more than 15 years have passed. He still resides nearby, but he is unable to access the riverfront walkways that run beneath the shopping center to go downtown.